bright neon lights of New York City blinked like 1,000 stars in a sky that never got dark. Gideon Caldwell, a billionaire who had made his own money, leaned back in his chair in his penthouse office and looked at the city skyline. The deal he had just finished was worth more than $1 billion. It was another win for his growing empire, yet for reasons he could not explain, a strange, empty feeling chewed at him inside. His assistant, Bryn, walked in with a confident smile, holding a stack of papers. "Mr. Caldwell, your flight to Tennessee is ready. Shall I get the jet ready?" Gideon did not answer right away. Instead, he stared out the window, watching the city lights bounce off the glass. Then he made up his mind. "Cancel the flight," he said, his voice strong in a new way. "I'm staying a little longer." Bryn raised an eyebrow, clearly surprised. "Sir, the meeting in Tennessee is very important." "I'll handle it from here. Change of plans," Gideon answered. His mind was already on something else. His driver, Elton, arrived soon after, and Gideon got into the black luxury car. As the car drove away from the city, Gideon's thoughts went back to a place he had tried to forget. The past. The town of Nashville, Tennessee, where everything had started. He had not been back in more than 10 years. It was the place where he had once been just a boy with big dreams, a place that felt like both home and a prison. The car rolled through the familiar streets, past the places that had shaped his childhood, the library where he spent hours reading business magazines he could not buy, the street corner where he sold newspapers just to have enough money to eat. And then, as the car got near the end of the street, his heart skipped a beat. Maggie's Diner. It looked exactly the same. Time had not changed it, even after all these years. The neon sign still blinked weakly, and the same old red booth sat inside. Gideon's breath stuck in his throat. This was the place where, as a teenager, he had made a promise to himself. "I will never come back until I have everything." But now here he was. "Elton, stop here," Gideon ordered, his voice far away, almost like he was talking to someone else. "I'll be a minute." The bell on the door jingled as Gideon walked into the diner, and the familiar smell of coffee and grilled food hit him right away. The place felt cozy, old-fashioned, and the same as always. He sat down in the corner booth, the exact one where he had spent so many nights dreaming of a life he could never have. As he looked out the window, memories came rushing back. His dreams of leaving this small town, the heavy problems of his family, the need to prove he was meant for more. His thoughts were broken when a soft voice spoke. "What can I get for you, sir?" Gideon looked up, and for a moment everything seemed to stop. The waitress had dark brown hair pulled into a messy bun and wore a simple uniform, the same kind he remembered from growing up. But there was something about her that felt too familiar. It was Tessa Harrove, the same Tessa who had been the smartest and most driven girl in school, the one who had always dreamed of something bigger and better than this small town. But now she looked different, tired and worn out. Her once bright green eyes had lost their spark. "Steak and coffee," Gideon said, his voice showing the shock he felt. She wrote down the order and walked away, and Gideon could not stop watching her. He had not seen Tessa in more than 10 years. Back then, they had been friends, nothing more than friends. They had shared dreams, plans, and hopes for the future. But somewhere along the way, their lives had gone in different directions. When Tessa came back with his food, Gideon did not wait. "Tessa." She froze, her eyes searching his face with confusion. "How do you know my name?" Gideon leaned forward, his heart beating fast from the familiar feeling. "Westwood High, class of 2012. Her eyes lit up with recognition. Her hand shook a little as she set down the plate. "Gideon," she whispered. "Gideon Caldwell." He smiled, But it was not the proud smile of the billionaire he had become. It was the smile of the boy who had never forgotten her. "The one and only," he said softly. Tessa blinked, her face moving from shock to something harder to read. "You're the Gideon Caldwell, the billionaire." Gideon nodded, but he did not feel the pride he thought he would. Instead, a strange pain filled his chest. "I never thought I'd see you again," Tessa said, her voice full of surprise. "You made it out. I always knew you would." Gideon's eyes softened. "I didn't expect to find you here." She shrugged, her smile empty. "Well, some of us don't get second chances, do we?" They talked for hours, but as the talk went on, Tessa grew quieter and more careful. Gideon could tell something was wrong, something she was not saying. Finally, he could not stay quiet anymore. "Tessa, what happened to you? You were going to change the world." She paused. Then with a deep sigh, she told the painful truth. "My father died when I was in my second year at Harvard," Tessa said, her voice shaking. "After that, everything fell apart. My mother got sick, and I had to leave school to take care of her. My little brother was still in school, and I had to support them. So I took any job I could get, and now I'm here, working at Maggie's diner." Gideon's chest felt tight. He had not known. The girl he had once admired, the one so full of life and promise, had been living with pain and giving up her dreams for her family. The girl who once had the world at her feet was now just trying to get by. "And you're still here?" Gideon said quietly. "Yeah," Tessa said with a bitter laugh. "Some dreams just aren't meant to come true." The next day, Gideon could not stop thinking about Tessa. He was a billionaire who could make almost anything happen, but he could not fix her life. Or could he? He decided to offer her a real second chance, the kind he had once been given. But he did not want to just give her money. He wanted to give her a true way to change her future. 2 days later, Tessa found a black envelope under the windshield wiper of her car. In fancy gold writing on the front, it said, "Meet me at 9 a.m., Caldwell Enterprises." Her heart pounded as she opened the letter. She did not know what to expect, but she was curious. When Tessa walked into Gideon's office, she was amazed by the view. The office was modern, sleek, and full of luxury. The last time she had been in a place like this, it had only been a dream. Gideon was sitting behind a huge desk, but he stood up when she came in. His eyes softened when he saw her. "Tessa," he said, his voice calm but kind, "I want to offer you a job at my company." Tessa's heart skipped a beat. "A job?" "Not just any job," Gideon said, sliding a contract across the desk. "A manager position, 6 figures, full benefits, and I'll pay your mother's medical bills and your brother's school, anything you need." Tessa could not believe what she was hearing. "Why are you doing this?" she asked, her voice breaking. Gideon looked at her seriously. "Because you deserve a second chance. You were always meant for more than this." Tears filled Tessa's eyes, and for the first time in years, she felt hope. But just as Tessa started to feel steady again, a new problem appeared. Gideon's business enemy, a cruel rich man named Vance Warwick, had heard about Gideon's help for Tessa. Vance did not just want Gideon's company, he wanted Tessa too. He made her an offer she could hardly say no to: money, fame, power, everything she had ever dreamed of. But there was a price. To take it, she would have to betray Gideon. Tessa felt torn between staying loyal and chasing her old dreams. The future she had started building with Gideon was now in danger. Days went by, and the choice felt heavier every day. Vance Warwick's offer hung over her like a dark cloud, tempting her with wealth and power. She could feel the pull of the life she had always wanted: luxury, respect, and no more money worries. But deep down she knew it would cost too much. Gideon had given her something money could not buy: a real second chance and belief in herself again. The idea of betraying his trust and leaving the man who had helped her made her feel sick. One night, as she sat in her small apartment looking out her little window at the city lights, she thought again about her talk with Gideon. The way he had offered the job not because he felt sorry for her, but because he believed in her. The kindness in his eyes when he promised to help her family. No one had ever treated her that way before. But now, with Vance's huge offer in front of her, she was tempted to take the quick and easy path. She could have everything at once. All she had to do was say yes. The next morning, Tessa walked into Caldwell Enterprises. Her footsteps echoed in the quiet halls as she headed to Gideon's office. Her heart pounded with every step. Torn between the life she knew and the one that could be, she could not look Gideon in the eye because of the secret she carried. Gideon stood as she walked in. His face was hard to read. He knew something was wrong. The air felt thick with tension. "Tessa, I've been thinking," Gideon started, his voice calm but deep with feeling. "You have the job here if you want it, but it's more than that. You have a future here. I'm not offering to save you. I'm offering you a chance to build something real with someone who believes in you." She opened her mouth to speak, but the words stuck. She needed to tell him. But could she? The secret felt like 1,000 pounds on her chest. "I know you've been given another offer, Tessa," Gideon went on, his eyes narrowing a little. "Vance Warwick isn't just offering money. He's offering a life of luxury that might be hard to refuse. But let me ask you this. What does that life really cost?" The question hit her hard. Tessa felt like he could see every doubt. It was as if he had known the whole time. Now she had to choose. "I can't tell you what to do, Tessa," Gideon said softly. "But I can tell you that the person you are, the person I see, is worth more than anything that man can give you. And I won't be angry if you choose differently. But whatever you decide, you will always have a place here with me." The quiet between them lasted forever. Then at last Tessa decided. "No," she whispered, her voice barely there. "I won't take his offer." Gideon's eyes softened and a small smile appeared. "You made the right choice," he said, his voice full of quiet pride. Tessa felt the heavy weight lift off her shoulders at last. She was not just choosing between two men or two jobs. She was choosing herself, the woman who had fought for every bit of happiness, who had worked so hard. She was choosing a future on her own terms. And with that, Tessa sat down at the desk across from Gideon, ready to start the life she had earned, knowing the harder road would bring true happiness. It was the road that was true to who she really was. As she looked up at Gideon, she saw more than a boss. She saw a friend, a teacher, and maybe, just maybe, the start of something deeper feelings. Together they would face whatever came next. For the first time in her life, Tessa knew she was not alone. And in that moment, the future did not feel scary. It felt like a brand new beginning,